Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. Amma ba'd. This presentation is about learning the Arabic of the Quran, learning the language of the Quran. And the purpose of this presentation and the series of classes that we will be having as part of this series is to learn the basics of the Arabic language in order to be able to understand what we are reading in the Quran and what we are listening to of the Quran. At least the simple sentences, the simple passages and ayat of the Quran. Um, and the purpose of this presentation is to keep the classes as short, as brief as possible, staying away from those aspects of the language that are not necessary to learn. Only those aspects will be taught that are necessary to understand the Quran, staying away from the subtleties of the language and the detailed aspect of the grammatical rules of the Arabic language. And so I am putting together this Arabic of the Quran series to make it easier for those who have less time, who have full-time jobs and full-time families, so that they can also learn a little bit of the Arabic language, enough to be able to understand the simple passages of the Quran. My name is Muhammad Umar Ismail, and I am the Imam of the Islamic Center of Lake Travis over here in Austin, Texas. And as we move forward, I hope you will be able to enjoy these classes together. And if you have any questions, you may email me at imam@iclaketravis.org. So the purpose of this presentation and the purpose, vision, and goal of these classes is to be able to briefly understand the Quran and Hadith. The Quran and Hadith are both narrated to us and they've been preserved in the classical form of the Arabic language, known as Classical Arabic. It is no longer spoken today. It's the spoken aspect of the language basically is lost. Um, in speeches, sometimes in khutbas, you will hear the classical form of the language. Other than that, it's been lost. However, since the Quran and Hadith have been preserved in their original classical Arabic, it is imperative upon us as Muslims to learn the classical form of the Arabic language. And that is what we are going to focus on. The purpose is to be able to translate simple sentences and the simple verses of the Quran. Gain vocabulary, that's very important with any language, whether it's Arabic, Spanish, French, etc. You have to build your vocabulary. We are not learning modern standard Arabic. Modern standard Arabic is what is normally taught in colleges and universities today. This is what is normally used in newspapers and by news stations, etc. But we are not studying the modern standard form of the Arabic language. We are studying classical Arabic, which is the language of the Quran and Hadith. We are not studying slang or colloquial Arabic, which is known as Amiya or Darija. We are studying classical Arabic, which is known today as Fusha. Fusha Arabic or classical Arabic, the most eloquent form of Arabic and the most classical and traditional form of the Arabic language. and that is the language of the Quran and Hadith, and that was the language spoken by the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in back in the day. Forward, Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, who has a well-known commentary of the Quran, he mentions a very beautiful definition of the Arabic language and the reason why the Quran was revealed in this language. Um, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, "Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun." This is in Surah Yusuf, right at the beginning, the third verse of Surah Yusuf. We have revealed it as an Arabic Quran. The Quran, this revelation that has been revealed to you, O Prophet, it has been revealed to you in Arabic, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, so that you may understand. And then in the commentary of this verse, he says, Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, he says, وَذَلِكَ لِأَنَّ لُغَةَ الْعَرَبِ أَفْصَحُ اللُّغَاتِ وَأَبْيَنُهَا وَأَوْسَعُهَا. And that is because the language of the Arabs is the most eloquent of the languages and the most clear and the most vast. It's vast in its meanings. وَأَكْثَرُهَا تَأْدِيَةً لِلْمَعَانِي الَّتِي تَقُومُ بِالنُّفُوسِ. And it is the most effective in conveying the meanings that are within the hearts. فلهذا أنزل أشرف الكتب بأشرف اللغات على أشرف الرسل بسفارة أشرف الملائكة وكان ذلك في أشرف بقاع الأرض وابتدأ إنزاله في أشرف شهور السنة وهو رمضان فكمل من كل الوجوه. He says that is why the most noble of the books was revealed in the noblest of languages, upon the noblest of the messengers, via the medium of the noblest of the angels, and that occurred in the holiest of the lands of the earth, and its revelation began in the holiest of the months of the year, and that is the month of Ramadan. Thus it was perfected from all angles. From all angles, all manners, all ways, the Quran has been perfected and completed. And so that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the Arabic language to reveal his final revelation and final message to the people. There are various branches of the Arabic language, and a lot of them are taught at the advanced level. What we are going to focus on in this series that you will be studying as beginners, as full-time uh, students with full-time jobs and full-time families, with um, a couple of hours a day to study the Arabic language. What we are going to focus on is Nahu. We're going to focus on the science of Nahu, or the branch of Arabic known as An-Nahu, which has to do with the grammatical aspect of the Arabic language. And apart from that, we're going to focus on Sarf. Sarf is the verb conjugation aspect of the Arabic language. It deals with verb conjugation. So these are the two main branches of the Arabic language that we're going to focus on. And along with that, a part of Sarf is also ishtiqaq. Ishtiqaq literally means derivation, how to derive words from the root. And so that is something we're going to discuss and we're going to talk about in this series as well. The rest of the branches of the Arabic language are taught at the advanced level. Rasm has to do with how the Quran was written and how some words are spelled in the Quran. And Balagha has to do with the rhetoric aspect of the Arabic language. Again, this is taught at the advanced level. And part of Balagha is al-bayan, ilm al-bayan, and you have ilm al-ma'ani, you have ilm al-badi'. Okay, so these are all different branches of al-balagha, which is taught at the advanced level. And then you have shi'r, shi'r also known as al-arud wal-qawafi. Okay, and that is taught again at the advanced level after knowing Arabic, after learning Arabic. And then you have khat. Khat has to do with the writing aspect, various forms of calligraphy, various types of calligraphy of the Arabic language. What form, what calligraphy was the Quran originally written in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and then later on, what style was adopted to write the Holy Quran, etc., etc. So that is the knowledge of khat. Again, taught at the advanced level. What we're going to cover is nahu, which has to do with sentence structure, and then we're going to cover sarf, which has to do with verb conjugation, and ishtiqaq as well, which has to do with words derived from root letters, and inshallah, these three are the main branches that will help us understand the basics of the Arabic language, and it will help us translate the simple verses and sentences of the Quran and Hadith. So again, just uh, summarizing, Nahu is the knowledge through which a person will be able to refrain from committing mistakes in sentence structure. Sentence structure, putting sentences together and creating correct sentences, and also being able to translate correctly. That is what Nahu is about. And Sarf is the knowledge through which a person will be able to master verb conjugation, how verbs are made, past tense, present and future tense, etc. Imperative forms and then the prohibitive forms, all that will be discussed in Sarf. And then Ishtiqaq is the knowledge through which a person will be able to master various derivatives of words. And so this is just a brief introduction of the Arabic language. As we move forward, we will have to, we're going to be learning classical Arabic the classical way. And the classical way of learning Arabic is where at least 50% of the content needs to be memorized. Okay, at least 50%. I'm not saying all of it, and I understand all of you have full-time jobs and or maybe full-time students, and you have other things to do. But especially sarf requires memorization of the verb conjugation table. Nah requires some memorization of the principles, just like, for example, in math, you have a formula. Once you have the formula memorized, then you can do all the problems. You can work out the problems once you have the formula memorized. If you don't have the formula memorized, then it's going to be difficult to work out the problem. So Nahu is sort of like that, and the Arabic language is sort of like that as well. I like to say that if you can pass high school math, then you can learn the Arabic of the Quran. Reason why I say that is because in terms of difficulty and in terms of memorization of the formulas, the same number of formulas you have to memorize to pass high school math, it's the same number of principles and rules you have to memorize in order to understand the Arabic of the Quran. And so here we are. I conclude this presentation with a short dua. Rabbi zidni ilma, O Allah, increase us in our knowledge. And Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una, O Allah, teach us what is beneficial to us. وانفعنا بما علمتنا, and enable us to benefit from what you have taught us. وزدنا علما, and continue to increase us in knowledge. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله.